All right, maybe to start, you can introduce yourself, talk a bit about your business very briefly and what you guys do.
My name's Christian. I'm a CFO partner at BlockOffice. Essentially, BlockOffice is a strategic back office for startups. That's Web 2 and Web 3. We really look at the entire kind of fractional CFO, COO umbrella. So that means starting from the simplest things like entity incorporations and other corporate structures to setting up bank accounts, doing the basic bookkeeping. But then we also do more strategic level things like supporting fundraise, again, for both Web 2 and Web 3 companies. Obviously, with Web 3, that would include getting a token listed. And then we do your budgeting, planning, forecasting, building out investor memos, white papers. So we really try and cover as much as we can within that CFO and COO umbrella. But we do also have a tech development team. They were originally helping us build out our internal tech platform. And then we did an acquire. So we saw good value in being able to bring them on board. And with a lot of the clients that we work with today, they obviously have product development needs. So we now have a product studio capabilities as well.
As a second question, I would like to ask you if there is maybe a story behind the beginning of BlockOffice and the way it was settled. Like how did things happen? What was the, let's say, initial thoughts of why we needed BlockOffice? And what is also the vision, maybe long term and for the industry?
So BlockOffice started with Jay, who's the founder, has a large, very extensive background in VC and angel investing. And with the large number of portcos that he has, he identified a common problem with many of those startups, which is they didn't have a very well established finance department. They weren't quite sure how to manage the financial operations of the business or put together good financial reporting that supported the portcos from being able to raise further funds. So he saw that as a need. The bigger vision was to go well beyond just offering a fractional CFO business, but also to build out a tech platform that automated a lot of the typical startup problems. So having an organized data room, being able to automate the key financial reporting that startups would use for their fundraising business, and then just a few other periphery things that might eventually grow to like an angel list 2.0. So that was certainly some of the originations of the bigger vision. I met Jay just after he started BlockOffice. I myself was already a CFO. I had been in the DeFi space for a little while. I've got 16 years of investment banking experience in the finance side and was already doing fractional CFO, COO work for startups. So when we met, it really was kismet that we both had the same kind of idea in terms of how we could help startups, and the rest is history. We're both quite different in terms of our approach, so we actually complement each other quite well in terms of our personality differences and the way that we think. So yeah, we have a good balance between good cop, bad cop, and we swap roles often. Sometimes I'm the good cop, sometimes I'm the bad cop. But yeah, it works, and we found great synergies as we started to reach out to some of Jay's early portcos. But then, of course, we just started to snowball with a lot of the business that we had coming in.
To illustrate a bit the way you work, would you have like a case study or memory in mind of a client that you had, without naming them, obviously, but just maybe to explain to us a bit more how you work from the beginning to the end, starting from the moment you start collaborating with the project? What are like the big steps, and what would be yeah, a more specific use case that would help us see how you guys work?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's a great question. We really do not operate like consultants, for better or worse. So our ultimate objective is how do we find the right balance in providing all the support that the startup might need, but not add to their burn or to the pressure, obviously, of the limited funds that they might have. So We do that by first really understanding the problems that the startups are facing and identifying what might be 2 or 3 core priorities that we can work on. We're a very high touch, white glove solution. So every bit of service that we provide is ultimately bespoke to the individual client needs. We do spend a bit of time in that problem understanding phase before we produce a scope of work. But then when we come on, as I mentioned, we try to come on like a part of the team. So we're not this consultant type scenario where we allocate X amount of time and we bill per hour. We really try and work with the clients as part of the team. We attend weekly meetings or any other strategic meetings that might make sense. We're ultimately trying to optimize for efficiency. So we look for ways that we can improve internal processes that gives us the opportunity to add more value strategically. So it really just depends. So maybe a quick example that I can give, we had one client who was quite advanced. They'd done a very successful fundraise and they were moving towards their TGE. And we really took over as their outsourced financial department. So that meant we were building financial models for future investment. We were looking at their commercial model to see what we could do to improve it. We were controlling all of their accounts payable, accounts receivable, and providing payroll support, as well as keeping a track of all their treasury, their different digital assets. And then last but not least, we were doing the project management for their TGE. So in a nutshell, that looks like speaking with market makers, understanding the terms of their agreements, putting together a proposal for the CEO so that he can understand what market makers are offering the best terms, working with listing agencies to make sure what are the minimum criteria to get listed, and then making strategic decisions around which areas should be listed first, and then finally helping with any execution, just ultimately being the arms and the legs of the financial and operational side of the business.
Maybe on top of this, do you have like, because you're seeing a lot of early days projects, do you have like maybe a top one advice to give to early days founders, and kind of what is the mistake that you see that founders are making when they start?
Yeah, this is a great question. And, I think that all founders will struggle with this because there's a huge amount of accountability and responsibility that founders take, which means they often will try and do as much as they can themselves rather than looking for people to hire or people to outsource to. And this quickly turns into a case of having too many things to do without the bandwidth to execute at a high level across all of them. And most founders are ultimately capable of being able to deliver 90% of the business. But where we see the biggest problem is where they should focus their time on. Like, what drives the greatest ROI for that project or business that the founders should have 100% of their focus on. And that normally tends to be around fundraising, around go to market, around product scope, product build. So those areas are the areas that we believe founders should spend the vast majority of their time. And then for all of the other things that are obviously important in running a business, your FinOps department, of course, this is necessary work, but a founder should try their best to relinquish that kind of ownership of that, outsource it to somebody that can do it efficiently. And obviously that's BlockOffice's value proposition, that we believe we have the capability to move very fast at founder speed to be able to deliver on the FinOps side in an efficient way, and ultimately just free up the founders' headspace, their bandwidth, their ability to stay focused and on target with the things that matter most.
I have one last question that is more about your sales flow, deal flow. We were really impressed by the way you work and by the results you managed to drive. You mentioned that you don't have big marketing campaigns ongoing. At least it was not the case a few weeks ago. Can you maybe tell us a bit more about how you've been working so far, and what we can expect from you guys in terms of the way you drive business in the future?
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, we really have not invested in marketing at all. I mean, I think if you have a look at our website, it's far from having this nice tailored inbound flow of leads. But we really took the effort to spend a lot of time at lots of different events, to really just continue to hear the kind of problems that startups are facing. And that really helped us hone what we think is the right kind of offering of our services, and maybe where to start first. So obviously, when we're dealing with startups at the pre-seed, seed stage, some of those startups don't even have a company incorporated yet, or they're on the verge of incorporating. So we saw that it made a lot of sense for us to focus on that in terms of our initial engagement with clients as the corporate structuring side of the business to start with, that then allows us to flow into some of the other basic financial and operational parts of the business. So it's been very organic. As I mentioned before, Jay has an excellent network across the startup ecosystem. So we did tap into our existing networks quite heavily. We attended lots of events to grow that network further, and that's really paid dividends for us. We do see a transition now as we're looking to build out our marketing funnel. So we were just at the early stages of starting to experiment, and we're going to do the typical A/B testing and figure out what messaging is clearest for us, that brings the right kind of clients in that we want to help support. But yeah, it's been very organic up until this stage, and we've been very happy with the growth. I think maybe one of the other things that has helped us a great deal is when we're delivering for clients, those clients obviously have their own networks. And as they're hearing other people with similar challenges, they're referring us. So we do have a very strong referral program that's paying dividends.
Maybe to finish, you mentioned you would be at Token 49. Do you want to tease a bit what you guys will be about, or is it more of a you go and you meet potential leads?
Yeah, sure. Happy to do a shout out. I mean, I think like everybody at Token will be running around to a million different side events, but we do have a couple of side events that we're running ourselves. One will be actually just a gym fitness session for a lot of founders and VCs that are tired of all the drinking and partying. So we'll be doing a lunchtime gym session to hopefully get people feeling a little bit fit and healthy, followed by a lunch. And we do have another session where we're talking very specifically about corporate structuring and safe SAFTs, all your typical kind of fundraising documentation. So yeah, please go to LinkedIn, have a look at the events that we're running, and feel free to click, but also feel free to reach out to any of us either via the website or via LinkedIn. We will get back to you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.